of the world has been forgotten. It was given up when she died. There were towers in the sky that day, and great flashes of light, and the lamentation of every voice, calling out her name. One last time. The Ascendancy built the towers, and it was not long after that war broke out amongst their own kind. They played at gods and brought down not only themselves, but the lesser folk, whom they kept in the labyrinthine gardens. Few survived the parting of the veil of the heavens, those who hid within the coils of the great serpent. He is a fearsome deity, and at times, demanding. The priest crouches over the sacrificed lamb. Its blood coats the blade in his hand. He divines from its entrails, then raises his voice. "The coils of the serpent turn! Come forward, neophyte."
No! Is there anything we can do? I don't want to go in there.
This is the way, son. You know that.
Matthaios. Can someone else go instead? Daniel wants the chance, and he's much more prepared than I am.
Who are mortals to question the demands of the serpent? Come forward, boy. Here, take this. Father hands Matthaios a simple weapon, an ashwood club, the only he has.
But you need this. What if something happens while I'm gone?
I'll find a way.
Promise me you'll come back. Promise. You know I don't make promises.
Come forward. Now. Matthaios approaches the priest. Seek out the scaled oracle. Receive her wisdom. Should you accomplish this, and return with her mark, you will be called warrior. If you perish, may the serpent take you into his endless coils, and spare you the eternal torment of his belly. The priest leads a solemn procession away from the shrine. Hushed voices murmur from those filing behind the young man. Men go to either side of the massive gate and open the way to the trials. Matthaios enters the corridor beyond the gate. His stomach is bunched in knots, and sweat slicks his palms. The walls are high, some 30 feet straight up, with tightly fitted blocks. Ivy and mosses creep along the walls, and here and there insects buzz and chirp. Upon the left-hand wall is a flame sconce and its activator, a tiny remnant of the technology once wielded by the Ascendancy. Just beyond, wide steps lead up to a set of massive double doors, made for persons far bigger than humans. Matthaios takes a deep breath, attempting to calm his nerves. I've trained for this. Remember the training. He repeats this to himself and steps forward. He goes to the activator, a diamond-shaped tile affixed to the wall. When he pushes it, a large flame ignites atop the sconce. It gives off a fair amount of heat, and by night would illuminate the darkness. For now, the sky provides plenty of light. High above rises the great structures of the labyrinth, the titanic blocks that occupy the land outside the gardens and walled fields. Matthaios takes stock of everything he has on him. He wears linen, woven grass, and simple leather. His belt has a pouch on one side and his tools on the other. For sustenance, he has a full water skin and a day's worth of rations. He carries the ashwood club that his father gave him, a simple weapon, but sturdy. The handle is well worn from father using it for so many years.
Let me see if I can find anything to help me reach the scaled oracle.
Matthaios searches the area nearby, hoping to come across something of use in these trials. In a section of the wall nearby, he locates a small piece of stone block that can be removed. He does so, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside is a small quartz-like crystal flecked with bronze. He knows from his studies of the old ascendancy technology that this is a spark stone.
Incredible. I've never held one of these before.
With a flicker of hope, he moves forward, up the steps, to the huge stony doors. One of them is cracked, revealing a temple-like interior. Moving inside, he finds himself in a large space with dynamic stone architecture. The ceiling rises high, supported by great columns, and the decorum of the place features labyrinth motifs. There are large pillar braziers, putting off incandescent glows and spiced smoke. A stairway rises up to a higher landing, with a railing and other finishings in patina bronze. Another set of double doors are up there as well, metallic and framed by stylized snakes. 2 figures are here. They descend the stairs to speak with Matthaios. There is no mistaking it. They are serpent guards, like strong men with skin of bronze. The segments of their armor are one and the same with their bodies, including their helmets with the twin crested snakes on top. They carry bladed polearms, along with sharpened throwing rings called chakrams. Matthaios has seen other serpent guards before, protecting the entrances to other places beyond the garden. They never sleep, but it is said that under their bronzen skin is living matter, and veins that flow with a drop of divine ichor. These are the Watchers given life by the Great Serpent.
"Step forward, neophyte,"
says one of the Ichorites. The other one searches Matthaios, though does not explain what he is checking for. Satisfied, he asks,
"What is your name?
I'm Matthaios Starcrux.
Why have you come here?"
The priest of my garden performed a divination, and I was chosen to enter the trials. He told me that I need to find the scaled oracle and receive her mark.
This priest is Tabraman the Haruspex.
Yes, that's him. The 2 serpent guards look at one another.
Shall we proceed? I am going to bring out the tongue of truth. I do not find that necessary. We know that the next neophyte could be chosen any day now. This boy has not convinced me that he is worthy of being chosen.
The Ichoriite opens a cage set into the wall and brings out a viper.
Remain still, boy.
He sets the snake on the ground nearby. It slithers close to Matthaios, continually tasting with its forked tongue. What is this? His heart pounds. The snake's tongue flicks out just to the tip of the neophyte's toe. It hisses. It rears as though to strike. At that moment, an eagle swoops down from the shadowed supports above. It snatches the snake in its talons and flies off. Bastus throws a chakram. His speed is impressive, but the blade ring misses the bird. It escapes through the entryway Matthaios had used, taking its prey with it. Bastus glares at Matthaios. His eyes are like that of a sculpture, and his metallic features express themselves with slight and subtle movements.
The tongue of truth had chosen to strike you down. I will finish the deed.
He takes his glaive in hand.
Stay your hand, Bastus. Fate has decreed otherwise. Fate, it was a mere bird. In this place, nothing is mere. The neophyte shall proceed. If he goes, then so do I. He to seek the scaled oracle, and I an egg for a new tongue of truth.
At that, Bastus the serpent guard ascends the steps, opens the large bronzen door, and exits.
Your trials might have just become even more deadly. If you come across Bastus out there, be very careful. He is a strong guardian, and he knows a number of hidden passages.
Do you know these passages as well?
Yes, some of them.
Can you tell me or show me?
I cannot. You are tasked with undergoing the trials. Seek out the scaled oracle, receive her mark, and return to your garden. Many are the dangers, and uncertain is your survival.
What is your name?
I am Kreeth, a guardian of this fane.
I see. Well, Kreeth, is there anything you can do to help me?
This test is yours to undertake. If you are to become a warrior, you must use all your strength, all your courage, and all your cunning. There are a few rules you must keep in mind. If you climb on top of the labyrinth walls or buildings, be warned that there are still some of the sentinel drakes that keep watch up there. You are expected to use any methods at your disposal to overcome the challenges of the trials, though you are forbidden from harming any of the Diorthocances or serpent guards that you come across, unless it is to defend yourself. Lastly, keep in mind that the eyes of the Oracle are watching you.
I don't know if I'm ready.
Few ever are.
The serpent guard Kreeth escorts Matthaios to the door with the maze designs on it. The neophyte steps through, and the door shuts behind him. Matthaios ascends another stairway into an open area. The walls reach up 30 feet or more. Nearby are large piles of rubble. He looks this way and that as he goes. From atop one of the rocky stacks appear two disgusting worm-like things with pincer mandibles. They are each about 5 feet in length and have segmented, wriggling bodies. Matthaios knows these to be Kexia maggots, the larval form of the Kexia fly. They are also known as leaping worms. He has rarely seen a live one before. They are hungry predatory insects with nasty bites and a poisonous spittle, but they are weak compared to many other kinds of creatures. The maggots are about 15 feet above the ground. The first one releases a noxious spit. The foul-smelling slime spatters Matthaios, and a sickly sensation cloys at his skin. Repulsed by the toxin, he darts behind some rubble to take cover. He grabs a rock, leans out to throw it at the maggot. The stone clacks off the rock pile. Matthaios gets back behind the cover. The second creature slugs down the side of the rubble, and with a writhing, whipping motion, flings itself forward. The other does much the same. Matthaios quickly locates another rock nearby. He grabs it up and flings it with all his strength. It cracks the maggot in the head, and the thing writhes about in pain. The way ahead is a tight squeeze due to the rubble, and there looks to be a crumbling section of floor that has collapsed. Instead, he runs to the left, hoping to outmaneuver the worm creatures. Ahead, he sees a dry fountain of some kind and a large door made of stone. The second maggot squirms ahead hungrily. It raises its head and spits. The poisonous spray splats against the wall as Matthaios ducks out of the way. The first worm creature is badly wounded from the rock and squirms away. It leaps back on top of the rubble pile. Matthaios runs ahead a few paces and finds the way is a dead end. He takes cover around the corner and readies to strike the maggot with his club. The worm wriggles ahead, then flings itself with a jumping bite at the young man who had just turned the corner. Matthaios shouts and swings his father's ashwood club. The weapon intercepts the leaping maggot, smashing its head straight on as it jumps to seize its prey. There is a grotesque crunching sound The thing falls to the ground. It thrashes about, oozing out blood and pus-like fluids. Matthaios bashes it again, then once more, until it stops moving. Ugh! A lick of panic rises up through his guts, and an urge to gag. He shouts, a crude and juvenile battle cry, but this steels his nerves. And a moment later, something floods through him, like fire flowing out from his heart into his limbs. Not a consuming fire, but an emboldening one. The elation of victory, the glory of triumph. He has won his first true battle. He approaches the large stone door and pushes. It does not budge in the least. Near the door, the stone basin is empty. An inscription on the wall above it reads, "Water and ash, open the way." Matthaios walks back to the rock piles. There is no sign of the wounded Kexia maggot. He squeezes between some of the rubble and a huge wall column. Beyond, the floor has fallen through, collapsed down to a lower section. That wounded maggot could be lurking around here, or some other vicious thing. Matthaios glances about nervously. He sees nor hears any sign of danger close by, though there are a couple heaps of assorted scrap and junk by one of the big rubble stacks. It could be rubbish, or it could contain something worth taking. Most of what he finds is utterly worthless. Jagged chunks of rust, moldy bits of rock, dung, dirt, rotted cloth. But there are a couple things that catch his eye. The neophyte picks up a flaxen-colored headscarf, and then a javelin. It's a short spear, in decent shape, good for thrusting attacks or throwing. He affixes the club to his belt and keeps the javelin in hand. The poison from the maggot has left the adventurer somewhat sapped. He wants to take a breather. Perhaps on top of the rock pile will give me a good lookout for dangers. The stack is not difficult to climb at all, and his practiced hands and feet ascend it easily. He reaches the top of the rubble, some 15 feet up. From here, he sees another large stone door, this one to the south. The wounded Kexia maggot is nowhere in sight. The neophyte sits down, takes a drink of water, and looks over the javelin once again. While he sits atop the rock, collecting himself, he hears sounds in the distance. For a time, there are hyena howls and cackles, and sometime later, the chittering trills of a giant insect. Matthaios climbs back down the rubble pile. He goes up to the door in the southern wall. Like all those he has seen here already, it looks to have been made for a people much taller than his own. They say that the Ascendants were bigger than humans, right? Bigger and much taller. He sets his hand on the door grip and pulls. The heavy door opens, revealing a long corridor beyond. He is not ready to head that way, not just yet, and he turns around to inspect the central section of this crumbling plaza. A part of the floor juts out into the lower basin. It is a 30-foot drop down, and the ground there has many patches of weeds. A lizard sunbathes on a rock, and winged insects buzz about. Part of this promontory is a grid of square stone tiles, and after that, at the end of the jut, is a capping of metal with a multitude of holes in the surface. Some 20 feet out is an eroded section of ground, and it has a font of some kind. Matthaios steps closer to have a better look. A few details catch his eye. The font atop the butte looks to be full of clear, slightly bluish water. The wide column to the east has a variety of tiny holes discreetly set into it. Just ahead, the 4 leftmost tiles all have burn marks on them, and one of the tiles near the center of the grid has the faint lines of an esoteric rune. The neophyte ponders over these findings and what importance they might have. He is uncertain, though he knows that the trials are said to be filled with a variety of traps and puzzles, some of which are deadly. Matthaios has grown up repairing and building all manner of devices, some of which are derived from old Ascendancy technology. The challenge is that the Ascendants wielded magical secrets, which they used to craft many of their wonders. Such mystical knowledge is largely lost to time. Still, he stares at the rune on the one tile, trying to recall if he has seen its like before. He recognizes it as a rune of power, one of the lesser kinds. A person has only to stand on the rune, and it will imbue the subject with an ability, or perhaps activate a magical effect. What exactly it is, he is unsure, but he is fairly confident that it is not a harmful effect. I should see what else is in this place. Matthaios goes to the southeastern part of the area. On the southern wall, there is a rounded alcove with bas-reliefs or engravings. In the corner, an old dead tree sprouts up from busted floor stones. Beyond that, in the eastern wall, there is a large opening that leads to another huge corridor. It looks to be overgrown with weeds, mosses, vines, and other plants. He steps into the alcove to look at the designs and words etched masterfully into the stone. It reads thus: The ascendants of the lower periphery of the coils were one of the last cantons to build sky towers. Some claimed this was a sign that our minds have grown slow and uninspired. In actuality, we observed a number of flaws in the designs employed by many other cantons. As is ever our standard and principle, we do not rush. We do not take expedient routes at the cost of excellence. Because of this, our sky towers are the finest and strongest of all. It is better to have one squad of dragons than all the swarms of hornets in the world. The true ascendancy, Endercoil. I wonder what that must have felt like, to actually see sky towers flying. But they all had been destroyed in the parting of the Veil, the final war, the conflict that had annihilated so much and so many. He checks the alcove to see if there is anything useful concealed there. There is nothing, at least not as far as he can tell. He assesses the situation. To the north is a sealed or locked door. Next to it is a dry font with an inscription nearby that reads, "Water and ash open the way." To the south is an unlocked door that leads to a corridor of tremendous size. To the east is an opening that leads to a corridor or an area overgrown with wild vegetation. The crumbling basin is about a 30-foot drop down. The jut has 16 tiles, 4 of which have burn marks, and 1 of which has a lesser rune of power. The end of the jut is metal with holes in it. There are also holes in the round protrusion on the wall just east of there. A little northwest of the jut is an isolated platform in a deteriorating condition. It holds a font full of water. In the southeastern corner of the whole plaza stands a dead and gnarled tree.